Welcome back to the Red Dice Diaries RPG podcast with John and Hannah.
Hi.
We're cracking open the post bag today to have a look at some of the lovely voicemails you've sent us. And our first call is from Jason of the Nerds RPG Variety Cast. So take it away, Jason.
Hey, Hannah and John. Just listened to Thursday's listener feedback episode. Great episode. Way too much Jason. Reference the puzzle box thing and where directors or writers have totally lost their audience in that. A good example of that would be the Highlander films, at least the second Highlander film, which is funny because you have Highlander, which, you know, Sean Connery, and you have immortal sword fighting. And then you have the next film where they turn them into aliens from another planet. And everybody hated that, but that was the original backstory that the writer had come up with for those characters. So when he published, has the next movie with the original backstory, everybody flips out because they didn't like it, which is kind of funny. So yeah, even if sometimes you need to listen, whether your original story, you like it or not, sometimes you need to listen to what the fans thought. The other thing there is Twin Peaks. After Twin Peaks TV show ended, and even after the movie Fire Walk with Me, there are all kinds of fan theories that actually work. And then when Lynch came back and did Twin Peaks The Return, or whatever he called it on Showtime a couple years ago, he totally shat on all the fans' theories and did what he wanted. But I think part of that was Lynch trying to, give the middle finger to the fans a little bit anyway. But anyhow, my 90 seconds is up, so talk to you later.
Hi, Jason. Absolutely agree with you on that for the Highlander series.
Yeah.
That's an instance where I think a bit of prep in the first movie, a couple of bits of foreshadowing to that, might have made it less of a, sort of out of the left field thing when it came in the second story.
I think as well, what Jason's talking about is it's become very trendy in films at the minute to try and subvert people's expectations, hasn't it?
Yeah, that's it. And that's one of the things that I hate about mystery boxes. You present somebody with a mystery, they solve it, and then you go, oh, it wasn't that anyway, I've changed my mind.
It's not
or you give somebody a box and say there is something inside that, but I'm not going to give you any clues as to what it is, and then they have time to think of something amazing in the box, and you're never going to have worked out what their amazing thing is. You're not Darren Brown.
It's Agatha Christie, the mystery writer, used to be famous for it. Set up these mysteries well. The idea is, it's a whodunit, so you're trying to work out who's committed the murder. And then you get to the end and you'd be like, it must be this guy, because there's no way it could be anyone else. And then they'd be like, oh, but what about their lost twin brother from Austria, who's never been mentioned? And there's a lot of ways to sort of cheat, which technically, that's fine, but it doesn't result in a satisfying experience for the audience.
Exactly. And that's what you have to focus on for that sort of thing. If your audience is going to enjoy your mystery box, you best make sure there's a good prize in there once they've solved it. And if they're not going to enjoy the mystery box, don't put it in to start with.
Yeah, couldn't have said it better myself. Thank you very much for that call, Jason. We've got a few more from Jason and later on, but we're taking these in the order we received them. So let's see who left us the next voicemail.
Hello, John and Hannah. I just wanted to say thank you so much for that episode on elaborate backgrounds. I agree with almost everything you said, I think. If you want to write fiction, and if you want to play RPGs, play RPGs. I always like the way the Black Hack handled backgrounds, advising characters to keep things to no more than 2 sentences. In fact, I found that as the character progressed, went up levels, I was often required to add additional information to that background, and I ended up with a 5th level character with 6-sentence background, and frankly I thought that was too much. And thinking about it, I don't think I ever used the mechanism that allows you to make a re-roll or roll with advantage once a session by connecting what you were trying to do with your background, because I was far more wrapped up in what my character was becoming, how they were developing, as opposed to what they used to be.
That was, of course, Spencer, aka Free Thrall, from the Keep Off the Borderlands podcast. Thank you very much, Spencer. And yeah, I've got to say, I pretty much agree with you, dude. I think a small, concise background is what is required. I don't think you benefit from having a massive, voluminous background. And I'm absolutely in agreement with you that my focus whenever I play a game is the story or the adventure is what's happening now at the table. It's not some fan fiction that I wrote about what happened before the actual game started. The most most exciting thing that the character's involved in should be the game, because that's when I'm actually playing them.
Absolutely. Although one thing that I would add to this whole thing we've been talking about with character backgrounds is that something, if you do want more detailed background for the characters in your game, it can make for a really good like first session, setup session.
Oh yeah, like
to do this as a group with the whole group. Gives people an opportunity to bring like character bonds in earlier, and you've got all kinds of different ways that you can do that. A system that I always quite like for its character gen, if nothing else, was Everway, which was like late 90s. Yeah, we've got most of it in a box somewhere, but we lost a load of the parts. But that had a system of basically you've got a load of cards with questions on the back. On the front of the card is a random piece of artwork, and the questions will be like, who's the person in the foreground, who's the person in the background, and you'd come up with a scene from your character background that had that image in it somewhere. And it was just a good introduction to that narrative storytelling style of the game. If I remember correctly as well,
on the page where they have the picture, there's like a word at the top, which is like a positive word connected with it.
And that's the other cards in the game, because it ran off its own tarot.
Because see, I mainly remember, because of the artwork, there was a card called Drowning in Armour, and it's like a guy in ancient Greek armour, sort of like going under the water. Yeah. And I think it was like Prudence and something else. I can't remember what the other word was, but I really like the idea of like, depending on what way up they were, it was a positive or a negative. Just a bit of an idea generator, to be honest.
Exactly, and those sort of idea generators are really useful for a lot of things in games. But yeah, if you want more detailed backgrounds, make them with the whole group and the GM and play through it. It's a lot more fun.
Yeah.
And I might be going out on a limb here, but personally, I think all that stuff could apply to settings too. I want to discover the world through playing in it. I don't really want to read extensive information about the setting. I'd much more prefer doing it through exploration. And if a setting can be made up just from a few bullet points, I'm all for that. Anyway, thanks very much. I'll speak to you soon. Take care.
Yeah, couldn't agree more, Spencer. Thank you very much for those messages. But it looks like Spencer's got a little bit more to say on the subject of mystery boxes. Go ahead, Spencer.
Hello, John and Hannah. A great episode on mystery boxes there. I don't think there's anything wrong with mystery boxes per se. Can be extremely useful. I think the problem lies with how J.J. Abrams utilises them. I was a big fan of Lost, actually, although all the criticisms directed at it are completely legitimate. But as a source for hooks, I think you can't beat it, really. I mean, also the fact that the solutions the writers came up with were less than satisfying just made it all the more fun reading through fan theories and stuff. I mean, the creativity that kind of the show led to from third parties writing and speculating about what might be going on. It's some really interesting stuff there, and I think that's why it would lend itself to RPGs quite successfully, because let the players come up with the solutions. Thanks again.
Cheers, Spencer. And yeah, absolutely right. My bias against mystery boxes is definitely coloured by my bias against J.J. Abrams and what he did to Star Trek.
Yeah, actually, Hannah's quite passionate about that. But yeah, I think you're absolutely right. Mystery boxes can be used well.
They are a very important part of the storytelling mechanism, as you say. I think my point, I don't know if I got it across properly in the episode, was more that what is inside that mystery box has to be worth what the players put into looking for it or solving it. And
yeah, you don't want it to feel anticlimactic after you've struggled to get to it, do you?
Exactly. And I think that's something that J.J. Abrams in particular suffers from, which is why I used him as an example.
Thanks again for that, Spencer. But wait, who's this I see riding through the forest glade, dappled by sunlight, with his golden locks flowing in the breeze? Why, I think it's Goblin's henchman.
Hi, John. Hi, Hannah. Just listen to your unicorn unicorn episode. I always think it's interesting when people do a topic like this that, you think you know it all, but when people start talking about it, interesting things, nuances come out. So thank you for that episode. A couple of observations. I think the weird unicorn with the red head and the kind of multicolored horn, I think that is definitely from a manuscript. I think it was covered in another. I heard that read one time in a different podcast. It was from a text, an old one. It might even been the Monster Man, a Monster Man episode. But anyway, that's definitely an ancient, kind of a historical thing. Pelicans, I thought that was interesting about eating its breast, because I recently saw something on Twitter where pelicans can push their spine up through their throat, if you like, to help them cool off. So it really looks like they're it looks very abnormal, but maybe that's where that myth comes from. And as for unicorns themselves, I once toyed with making a monster which was like the anti-unicorn, like an anti-paladin. It's on my blog somewhere, Goblin's Henchman, WordPress. Just, I guess, Google it if you're interested. But I quite like this idea of, it looks like a unicorn, but there's some telltale signs that give you a hint that maybe it isn't. It has some sort of, I think I made up some like nightmare lineage. They had like hot hooves and a weird smell. Anyway, yeah.
Cheers for that, Goblin's Henchman. Really glad you enjoyed the episode. As you say, whenever we do these ones about like creatures that we think we know quite a lot about, something we've not heard of always comes up. And I'll certainly take a look for that medieval manuscript, because I do like a bit of illumination. Yeah, cheers.
It's one of the nice things, isn't it? When we're sort of doing this, when we do a bit of research, we find things out. I mean, I know for my last Midlands game, I created a variant unicorn called the Gloomicorn, because obviously Gloomium's a big thing in the Midlands, and sort of like, it's been tainted by this like Warpstone-esque thing, and sent the players off after that, because only its horn can like break a curse that one of the player characters is under. I know, stereotypical, but I love the classics, what can I say? Anyway, I think Goblin's Henchman has got some more ideas on our episode concerning graveyards, so take it away.
Hi John, hi Hannah, it's Goblin's Henchman here. So I listened to your interesting episode on graveyards, and I had this idea, and I can't decide if it's a good idea or a terrible idea, so I'll throw it to you to decide, or at least maybe you can ponder on it. But I was wondering, how nearly all campaigns, or not all, a lot of campaigns start in a pub. I'm wondering whether a campaign could start at a gravesite. All the new characters are assembled around, and they're, maybe giving comments or pause or whatever it is. Can't remember the right word is when you say nice things about people who died. Maybe one of their fallen comrades, and they can all talk about what that person meant to them, and if it works well, you might immediately generate a narrative about avenging them or something like that. So I don't know, sort of, you need good players. Obviously it might be hopeless with like everyone like scratching their feet going, yeah, Derek, he was all right. Yeah, or it might be something really great. I don't know, just throwing it out there. You could then go to the pub if necessary. If it really falls flat, say right, and then you convene to the pub to for the wake, and then something kicks off. Anyway, just an idea. Cheers, bye.
So thanks for that, Goblin's Henchman. He's certainly given us a couple of ideas that we might chew over on a later episode. I've never been in a campaign that started in a graveyard, but I've been in a couple that have restarted in a graveyard after a TPK. Does that count?
I don't know if it does, but I mean, me and Hannah have been talking about it, so you've certainly provoked some discussion amongst us Goblin's Henchmen. And we're thinking perhaps maybe in the future we might do a few sort of like little mini episodes that are like ways to start a campaign in different places that you might not expect. And I think we could certainly do graveyards amongst that. So very much thank you for that idea, and hopefully in the not too distant future you'll see something related to this, and you can maybe give us your opinion on what you think about how we did. So that's it for this voicemail episode. Apologies if you left us a voicemail and we haven't got round to it. We did have quite the bulging post sack, so we're going to be splitting the voicemails down into a couple of different episodes, but we'll get round to them, we promise. If you want to get in touch with us in the meantime, you can leave us a voicemail message on SpeakPipe. There'll be a link in the description of this show, or you can send us an email. The address is rddrpgpodcast@gmail.com. Until we see you next time, take care, stay safe, and thank you for all your lovely messages.
Bye.